Well, thank you, everyone. I'm Gustavo Tolosa, your host for this book club that we have been holding from about May of 2020. So here we are on another session. Very exciting. We are currently reading Dr. Barnard's program for reversing diabetes. Of course, we also want to try to uh, avoid altogether having diabetes. But if you have it, and it's the type 2 diabetes, it is very possible to revert it. And remember that this book club is to give you really good information, practical information, but it does not take the place of your medical care. So, especially if you're diabetic, you need to be in touch with your doctor because changing diet is very powerful, especially when you eliminate all of the elements that make it possible for insulin to not work. When you get them out of your diet, your insulin and your glucose starts to work, and your medication has to be uh, adapted, and that will be done by a medical doctor. All right, the medication will be most likely changed, and in many cases it's even discontinued at some point. This depends on person to person, from person to person. For some people it happens very quickly. I have seen it myself when I have attended programs live in person, and for some people it may take a few days or weeks. As we will see, Dr. Barnard here saying, give it a try of 21 days. Giving something this important, just 3 weeks out of your life is worth it. So we will get there. So now what we're going to do today is start on page 62, where it says 2 important supplements. All of us who follow a whole food, plant-based way of eating, I try to avoid using the word diet because the word diet nowadays has a negative implication of having to count calories, measure portions, weigh food. And a diet usually has this connotation of restricting food and being hungry and being something that you do for a while instead of something permanent and something that is enjoyable. So in this way of eating, there are 2 supplements, and I would say one for sure that you need to take. All of the doctors that I have worked with and done webinars with and listened to in person, they all without exception, if there's one thing they can agree on, is taking vitamin B12, which is a vitamin that is made by bacteria. So we need to say what Dr. Barnard says, that consuming fruits, vegetables, beans, and grains provide the healthy nutrition that you need, period. It's just that vitamin B12, after a while, doctors differ a little bit on this, but once you change to a whole food, plant-based way of eating, it may take 1, 2, or even 3 years for vitamin B12 to start decreasing. So it's not something urgent that if you're starting today, you have to do today. But vitamin B12 needs to be taken. And so he says, if your B12 level runs low, you could have nerve symptoms that are permanent. But the vitamin is not made by animals or plants. It's rather produced by bacteria. This is very interesting because this is a vitamin that is not made by animals. It's not made by plants either. So some people have suggested that before the advent of modern hygiene, there were traces of bacteria in the soil, on vegetables and fruits, on our fingers or in our mouths, that provide the tiny, tiny traces of vitamin B12 that we need. Remember that we're talking about traces. That means very small amounts, but it is needed. So whether that was ever true, it is certainly not a reliable source today. Bacteria in animals' intestinal tracts produce vitamin B12, and traces of it end up in meat and other animal products. The problem with that is that when you consume animal products, you may be getting some vitamin B12, but you're also getting the cholesterol and the fat and the animal protein that is very damaging, as we have seen so far in these explanations that Dr. Barnard gives us. B12 is also added to some foods. For example, some packaged breakfast cereals and soy milk and nutritional yeast and other products. The best source of vitamin B12, you're going to find it at a drugstore or in a health food store. And it's something that you should take daily. The dose is not especially important because all common brands have more than the recommended daily allowance. You will not find a brand that will give you the daily allowance because it is so low that they don't make it that way. And even high doses of B12 don't appear up to today to be dangerous. So take it whether it is liquid or in a pill. If you can find one that is vegan, because remember, believe it or not, some brands of vitamin B12 have also traces of animal, byproducts, I guess. Vitamin D, on the other hand, is not a vitamin. Now, why was it ever called a vitamin? I don't know. I'll probably need to look it up, but it's not a vitamin. It's actually a hormone. So this hormone, which is called vitamin D, it's simply made by the sun hitting on your skin, and it doesn't have to be ours. The best solution to this, according to, again, many doctors, is to just, for 15 minutes a day, maybe 20, to be in the sun. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, the more it covers the body, the better. So arms, legs, maybe the face, the front, whatever, the more surface it can cover. And the body will store some of this for maybe some winter months when you don't get enough. There is something that is a little controversial, and that is that it seems that the levels of vitamin D have, the recommendations have been going higher and higher and higher. Personally, this is my personal opinion, I don't know if that's a tactic to get more people on these injections, because now they're more common to get these shots once or twice a year. They're very expensive, of vitamin D, or to sell more pills or whatever. I don't know. Okay, this is just a personal opinion. It seems that nowadays, because of the recommendation is at a certain point, everyone seems to be low on vitamin D. Everyone. Well, if you have a product that everyone needs, it would be nice. So, just be careful. Find out, get your vitamin D checked once a year and see what it is. Of course, you can see differences in opinion here. Dr. McDougall will not prescribe vitamin D. Dr. Barnard, on the other hand, does. So at some point, you have to come to your own conclusions. What does Dr. Barnard say? Well, it's a hormone produced by sunlight on your skin. Once activated in your liver and kidneys, it helps you absorb calcium. So, of course, it's very important for our calcium absorption. It helps protect your cells against cancer, among other functions. If you get plenty of sun, you don't need any vitamin D in your diet. That is the first recommendation that I see. I also see an agreement in all doctors that I've heard and interviewed, worked with. The first thing they say is you don't need to take any if you get enough sun exposure. But if you do not get regular sun exposure, okay, regular, like meaning every day or every other day, a vitamin D supplement is important. A reasonable daily dose is 2,000 international units. Okay, so B12 for sure. D is something that you may need or may not. So the next thing that he says here on page 63 is putting the right fuel in your tank. And so he says that the 3 guidelines work perfectly when they work as a team, we could say. The 3 guidelines, let's repeat them, is avoid all animal products, keep the oils to a minimum, and avoid and favor foods that are low in glycemic index. Now, meeting one of them is not enough. For example, jelly beans can be vegan and they are low in oil because they're essentially solid sugar. They have a high GI and will spike your blood glucose. So, similarly, a snack cake loaded with butter can have a very low glycemic index because butter contains no carbohydrates and may even slow the absorption of glucose you eat. But the snack cake is not vegan, nor is it low in fat. It will contribute to insulin resistance, and you want to steer clear of it. The low GI is not a reason to eat it if it does not meet other criteria. So this is the passage that I wanted to find last session, that the glycemic index makes sense when it's working together with these 3 guidelines. Okay, you have to use it. Don't compare it to other foods outside the whole food plant base. The 3 guidelines together are a powerful combination. Very good. So on page 64, he talks about increased insulin sensitivity. Evidence shows that a diet change can have a quick and decisive influence on the amount of fat inside your cells. So as the amount of fat drops, your cells become more and more sensitive to insulin. Remember that it is the fat inside the cells which is the problem more than the glucose or the sugar. So if your insulin resistance was previously worsening and your medication doses was increasing, the process begins to reverse, because then insulin can open that lock that was jammed by fat. The glucose can go in and it can do the work that it needs to do within the cells, and it will not end up in the bloodstream. This can happen remarkably quickly. In fact, it can happen so quickly that it is essential, if you're using insulin or any drug that increases insulin secretion, that you be in close touch with your doctor. So again, I know I've said it, but this is very important. You don't want the blood sugar to fall to very low levels, because that is dangerous. Now, that's about insulin sensitivity. Remember, it's going to change, and it's going to change rather quickly when your cells start to lose all that fat that they have accumulated throughout the years. Because again, it doesn't happen all at once. It happens throughout the years, and it's going to reverse the problem. Now, he talks about easy weight control. On average, the diet you're beginning causes a weight loss of about 1 pound per week, and that's the average. Some people lose more, and some people may lose less, but that's the average. For some biological reasons that we're not going to get into right now, men usually lose more or faster than women. So how does this work? You may ask. How can you lose weight if you're not paying attention on portion control, or sizes, or calories, or carbohydrates? Well, there are 3 reasons why you will lose weight, even though you're not measuring and worrying about how much you're eating and how many calories and what and when and how and all that. The 3 reasons are: first, the foods have very little fat, very little. So you're eliminating the main source of unwanted calories. Remember that fat has more than double the calories of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates have 4 calories per gram, and fat has 9. Second, the vegetables, fruits, beans, and whole grains you're bringing into your diet give you a very, I would say, healthy dose of fiber, which is filling enough to turn off your appetite a bit sooner than would happen without them. Yeah, of course, all the fiber and water that we eat in all of these vegetables and fruits and beans and whole grains, all that expands in our stomachs, the fiber combined with the water, and we get this sense of satiation sooner than if we were not eating them. And number 3, these foods cause a slight boost in your after meal calorie burn. Normally, you burn calories faster after a meal due to the process of digestion. Yeah, the body has to digest, it burns more calories. Our studies have shown that a low-fat vegan diet increases this after meal burn, giving you an extra edge. So losing excess weight feels great, of course, but weight loss improves your insulin sensitivity in addition to the effects of the diet change itself. What else can you expect? Well, you can expect easy cholesterol control. Of course, when you eat a whole food plant-based diet, you're consuming no cholesterol, 0. The only cholesterol that should be in your body is the cholesterol that your body makes. And again, here we have differences of bodies, organisms. Some people tend to produce more cholesterol than others, But if you're not ingesting any, the cholesterol levels should go down. Besides not consuming cholesterol, you have replaced them with cholesterol lowering things like oats, for example, or soy, or other botanical magicians, as we will see in chapter 12. Your arteries are starting to breathe a sigh of relief. The damage of diabetes is done to the arteries for the most part, leading to problems in your heart, eyes, kidneys, and nerves. But now you are inhibiting that process, and bringing your cholesterol level down is part of it. Again, don't throw your medication away and cancel your doctor appointments. Your doctor can zap your heart health and track your progress. So there is a study here that he's talking about. In just 2 weeks, 17% of the 21 reported complete cessation of their nerve symptoms, and the remaining 4 had noticeable improvements. So our research team did a test of a low-fat vegan diet alone without exercise, and found that indeed it can improve nerve function and reduce neuropathy symptoms. So what are the first steps to take? Well, basically, he gives you 2 steps. Step 1 is check out the possibilities. And so he says, take a week and check out a few recipes, okay? A few recipe and new food products. Look through the next chapter for ideas. You will find a great many possibilities to get you started. Your goal, here is your goal. So if you're starting, your goal is to identify healthy breakfasts, lunches, and dinners that you really like. That means meals that meet all of our guidelines, okay? No animal products, minimal vegetable oils, and low GI, and that also appeals to you. You must want to eat them. So studies have been done that show that we humans, on a regular basis, we eat, I don't know, 5, 6 different meals, and we kind of stick to them. We don't eat 3 different meals every day, 7 days a week. That would be 21 different recipes, 21, if we think, okay, 7 breakfasts. We don't eat usually seven different breakfasts in a week. Some people eat just one. They eat oatmeal every day. Some people eat hash browns every day. That would be more like me. Other people eat hash browns, some days hash browns and broccoli, let's say, or some hash browns and spinach, something green. And then other days, oatmeal. But there are 2 at the most, I think, 2, maybe 3 breakfasts that we repeat over and over. The same thing happens with lunch. We don't eat usually 7 different lunch and dinner. That would be 14 totally different recipes per week. So your goal during this period is to find, like he says here, a few meals that you really, really like. For example, I love mashed potatoes and corn. And to add something green, it could be steamed broccoli, or it could be saute spinach or chard or kale, something like that. That's something that I really, really enjoy. Find the things that you really like. All right. So step 2 is find 3 weeks. Open your calendar, find 3 weeks that you can mark in your calendar when you plan to embrace this program. Before you reach your start date, identify meals that fit our criteria and appeal to you. And of course, this book already has several pages of recipes and meals that you can choose from and maybe even adapt a little bit. When the first day arrives, commit yourself completely for 21 days. As I tell our research participants, this is not the time to stick your toe in the swimming pool. It's time to jump in and really do it. Make it all low-fat vegan all the time. There are 2 reasons for this. First, it gives you fast results, and then you get excited about it. If you commit 100%, you're going to get fast results. If you have a healthy meal on Monday and another on Saturday, your body will not notice any difference. But if you do it every meal, okay, it's different. Give yourself a chance to see how it feels to be on as perfect a diet as possible. Number 2, the second reason is that a diet change really is like getting into a swimming pool. If you ease your way into the water little by little, bit by bit, it is a painful process. That's kind of like me when I get in a swimming pool. I'm not the kind that just jumps. I try to get my body to get used to the water, and it never works. I mean, it is a painful process. So just plunge in. Very soon you will see that the water feels fine. Let me explain. And he explains that. So your taste buds will change rapidly. We know because of studies that our taste buds on the tongue have a memory, actually. And that memory is about 3 weeks. So jumping into the diet change allows them to adjust quickly instead of, 3 days you go one way, then one day you go off the plan. So they never get the chance to readjust and to reconfigure in a way. Just give it 3 weeks. During that time, really do it 100%, and you will get a good sense of what the diet will do while still keeping it, all your options open. Keeping the options open means that just think that you're going to do this for 3 weeks. It's not going to be for the rest of your life. It could be, and it could not be. So just focus on those 3 weeks. That's what he's saying. Then on page 68, he talks about getting to know transition foods. And he talks about how technology has brought to us many things that are maybe a little annoying, like the ringing cell phones and the crowded freeways and junk email. But, sometimes good things come out of it. And one of the things that the food industry has managed to mimic is unhealthy foods with more healthful varieties. So, you have veggie hot dogs and veggie burgers and veggie sausages, and you even have deli salami, turkey, chicken, and bologna slices that have soys or wheat counterparts that look and taste very much like the real thing, with 0 animal fat and cholesterol. Now, he's before any of you say that that's probably not the healthiest way of eating, and I certainly don't eat any of those things. These foods are hardly the pinnacle of fine dining, yes, but they are practical. If you have children, they are an absolute gift. If you saw what goes into a real hot dog, it would become the last thing you would want to see heading for your child's mouth. Yes, you might want to just for fun, do a little research on the internet. There are even videos that show what goes into a hot dog. It is one of the most disgusting things that you will ever see. And if you eat hot dogs, I think that it's true that you won't want to try that anymore. But a veggie version is something that you can bring home with pride, and your kids will love it, will love them. These products help you through the transition to a broader range of healthy food. So these foods, if you consume them, eat them in limits, uh, and see them as a transition if needed. All right. As you shop for meat and dairy substitutes, like the ones we have just mentioned, take a look at the labels. When you check the ingredient lists, you will see that some products are not quite vegan as you might like because they include egg whites or dairy proteins. Choose the vegan versions and look for those that are lowest in fat. All right, so we're getting to the end of this chapter, which is chapter 4. That's the goal that I had for today. This chapter 4 is very rich in information, and I just didn't want to rush through it. So on page 69, we have complete nutrition. Not only will you skip all the animal fat and cholesterol, you will get much more of the healthy nutrients your body needs. Soluble fiber to cut cholesterol, healthy vitamins to reduce cancer risk, potassium to lower blood pressure, antioxidants to knock out free radicals. And these are just to name a few. You might want to underline this. I think this is really cool here in a very, very concise way, what this will do for us. Fiber, besides producing weight loss because we get a sense of satiation faster, besides that, fiber is one of the most powerful ways that the body has to detox from the inside out. It is fiber that takes a lot of the waste out of our body. Without the fiber, it stays inside. So fiber, besides that, will also cut cholesterol. Healthy vitamins will reduce cancer risk. Potassium will lower blood pressure. Antioxidants, besides helping in keeping a healthy and younger skin, will knock out free radicals. And these are just to name a few. Very good. Here's where the healthy nutrients are on your plate. Protein. Your body uses protein to build and repair body tissues. Proteins are made up of small molecules called amino acids. And we have about 20 different amino acids that have various combinations. A healthy diet of beans, grains, vegetables, and fruits provides all the protein you need. Another place to underline, it doesn't say, Dr. Barnard doesn't say that they provide some of the protein you need. He says it provides all the protein you need. In fact, you're better off getting protein from plant sources. While animal protein can be hard on the delicate tissues of the kidneys, plant proteins appear to be free of this problem. Animal protein tends to cause calcium to pass through the kidneys and into the urine. In the process, calcium is not only lost, but it ends up in your urinary tract where it can cause stones. So this is a very important reason to rely on proteins from plants. Many years ago, there was this misinformation or myth that some nutritionists believed that vegetarians needed to carefully combine various foods in order to get adequate protein. The idea was that foods from plants might be missing one or more amino acids, so only combining foods in certain ways could ensure that you got them all. I don't know if you remember this, but I remember reading and hearing about this. If you don't eat meat, you have to make this special combination, eat this with that, and this with that, and that with this. And that notion was set aside long ago, Dr. Barnard says. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, this is like the highest source of information for dietitians. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics official position statement make it clear that plant-based diets provide plenty of protein without combining foods in any particular way. And there is a reference here if you want to see where that comes from. If, for any reason, you wish to increase your protein intake, turn to the bean group. And remember, we don't need unlimited amounts of protein because it's damaging to our kidneys, especially if it is, or mostly because it's animal protein. Athletes and people who exercise a lot may need some extra protein. For the rest of us, eating a varied diet the way we eat is sufficient, is enough. You will find extra amounts of protein in soy products such as tofu, tempeh, and soy milk, and in wheat derivatives like seitan, used to make meat substitutes. Now, that was about protein. Now about calcium. For many people, calcium and milk are almost synonyms. They think that milk will build strong bones and protect against fractures later in life. Research has shown, however, that milk's benefits are, for the most part, a myth. Studies do not show much benefits for the bones from drinking milk. How can that be? Well, only about 1/3, listen to this, only about 1/3 of milk's calcium is absorbed by the body. The other 2/3 simply pass out with the wastes. In addition, milk contains animal protein and sodium, both of which tend to increase calcium loss through the kidneys. Don't misunderstand me here, he says. You need some calcium in your diet, but it should come from healthful sources, namely green leafy vegetables and beans. Those are the two sources where you will get clean calcium. Leafy greens like kale and chard and I haven't checked broccoli. That's not leafy, but the only exception is spinach, as we will see. There is one exception. Spinach is high in calcium, but the absorption fraction is very low. Greens and beans will give you the calcium your body needs. If you are looking for extra calcium for whatever reason, you can find plenty more in fortified juices and soy milks. Animal protein causes your body to lose calcium through the kidneys, and it can be measured in the urine. Studies of high-protein diets, such as the Atkins diets, that dramatically demonstrate the loss. Such diets increased calcium loss by more than 50%. It is important to limit sodium, salt, and get vitamin D from either sunlight or supplements. Vegetables and fruits promote bone strength for reasons that are not entirely clear. And exercise gives your bones a reason to live. It is a strong determiner of bone health. Finally, it is also important to avoid tobacco since smoking increases fracture risk. Now we go to another element, which is iron. And iron is a double-edged sword, like he says. You need iron to build hemoglobin, which your red blood cells use to carry oxygen from your lungs to your body tissues. But too much iron can be toxic. And this is important to remember. It can increase the risk of heart problems and may even worsen insulin resistance. So it's not healthy to go and buy these pills and take iron. It's not. It can be toxic and bad for you. Iron encourages the production of unstable molecules called free radicals, which can damage your body's delicate tissues and are linked to heart disease, cancer, and even certain aspects of the aging process. The most helpful iron sources are the same foods that bring you the calcium: beans and green leafy vegetables. Your body easily absorbs this form when it's in need of more iron, but the iron passes harmlessly out of the body when you have all that you need. In contrast, meats contain, here it says HEME. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, if it's hem iron, which is like an uninvited guest at your party. It barges in whether you need it or not. Over the long run, meat eaters tend to accumulate too much iron. If you are anemic, don't rush out and buy iron supplements, or worse, add lots of meat to your diet. Instead, work with your doctor to find out what kind of anemia you have and why it occurred. Someone says, can you comment on while spinach, good, non-organic, high in pesticide, also eating too much is high in oxalates, unlike other green leafy like kale? Well, talking about spinach, if it is possible, anything that is leafy, try to get organic so that you don't consume pesticides. Try. Sometimes it's not possible. Here I want to say something that I don't want it to be misunderstood. Sometimes I see people that I know that are overweight or obese or have diabetes or have had a heart attack, and they won't eat. They're not going to eat spinach, let's say, because it's not organic, but they're eating the steak here and French fries. So let's put this in a perspective and say that eating greens, whether they're organic or not, is way healthier than eating a diet full of animal products, meats, dairy, all kinds of dairy, and vegetable oils. Now, so I don't want to burden someone who is just switching to this way of eating, and we're taking out all of their known food because they don't know what to eat if you take out the dairy and the meat. So we just told them to take it all out, to limit considerably any oils. And now I'm going to go a step further and tell them, and also make sure that all your leafy greens are organic. So first, I want to get them off of that, of what is really causing the problem. Then they're going to see a difference. Then I will fine tune. That's what happened to me, and all by myself. When I started switching and getting healthier and thinner and healthier, I started paying more attention when I went to the groceries. Oh, there is organic, and then there's regular, and I started to make the switch. But I don't think that you will be able to revert diabetes or heart problems by just switching to eating organic greens. You have to get the main reason out. So that's not to say, because I myself look for organic when possible. But sometimes I can't find it. So if I can't find it, I have two options. I eat it anyway, knowing that I'm 99% of everything else that I eat is healthy, or I won't eat it and I will eat something else. Because remember that we have so many options in this plant-based diet that I can have kale, I can have maybe they don't have organic spinach, but they have organic kale. Maybe they don't have organic kale, but they have organic Swiss chard. So variety in I think eating your greens is key here, and it's important that we get variety. So I hope that I explained it, what I mean, and it wasn't more confusing. But whenever possible, I would say, yes, organic is always better. And if you have access to it, and if remember, if it's more expensive, it's okay, because remember that you have given up products that were more expensive, even, all of the cheese and the meat and the dairy and the oils and all that. So it's just a matter of adjusting. You used to put your money here, now put it here and get something healthier. So, all right, zinc. Zinc plays important roles in immune function, wound healing, and many biological functions. But as with iron, you can have too much zinc. The most healthful sources include legumes, nuts, and fortified breakfast cereals like grape nuts or bran flakes or granola. So again, it can be toxic if you have too much. It's not going to be toxic if it comes from a diet that has variety and is whole food, plant-based. Fat, that's the last thing on this chapter on page 72. Good fats, bad fats, too much fat. How do we make sense of all of this mess and confusing information? The most important fact is this: your body's actual fat requirement is minuscule, as you saw earlier. And again, when people talk about, but we need good fats, and unfortunately, they're repeating something they heard somewhere in a commercial, or they read it in a magazine, or someone else told them. They don't know that the body's requirement for fat intake is truly, I like this word, minuscule. It's traces. It's very little. It's what nature gives us. Foods in nature have anywhere from 5 to 10% fat. Some may go up to 20 but well, of course, if we go to nuts and seeds and avocados, yes, way more. So the most important, so most people in Western countries get many, many times the needed amount. Nuts, seeds, Avocados, olives, and full-fat soy products are also high in fat. Although they are low in saturated fat, the overall amount is high, and you should limit these foods accordingly. And again, accordingly will mean on where you are in your journey. And so we could discuss that. I think I've talked about that. Someone who just starts, someone who's somewhere in the middle, someone who has been doing this many years, have different requirements, or they may be able to consume more or less of it. I know for a fact that once you have lost most of your weight, let's say you need to lose 80 pounds and you lost 60, pretty much sure for what I've seen out there that to lose those last few pounds, you're going to have to cut the nuts, seeds, avocados, and olives, or you won't. And you might even have to increase at that point the physical activity. So as you also saw earlier, most vegetables, fruits, and beans contain very little fat. And what they do have is a healthful mixture, including traces of the essential fats, alpha linolenic and acid, and linoleic acid. If for any medical reasons you're increasing your oil intake, healthful sources of omega-3 fats include walnuts, soy products, flax seeds, and in concentrated form, flax, linseed, canola, and walnut oils. Health food stores even sell omega-3 supplements drawn entirely from botanical sources. They are a better choice than fish oils. Omega-6 oils are also sometimes used for health conditions such as arthritis, usually in the form of evening primrose oil, borage oil, blackcurrant oil, or hemp oil. They should be thought of as medical supplements rather than as foods. So this is the end of chapter 4. And next week, we will jump into chapter 5, which is how to get started. So it's going to get more and more and more practical. And someone is saying, same with me. You will fine tune your eating even more as you go along because you learn more and you're experiencing so many good things with your body. Yes. So I want to tell you that I am filming several short videos with recipes that I make often, and every now and then a special recipe. Like the other night, I made this truly amazing charred rolls. Instead of being cabbage rolls, they were charred rolls with a sauce and with a filling that was so delicious. And I thought that it was going to be kind of bland, but gosh, was I wrong. So I filmed that, and I will be releasing that soon. It's going to be a free video. I'll probably do it in the form of a webinar. So make sure that you stay connected. If you've never received an email from me, it's probably for two reasons. You're not in my email list, and you can be if you send me an email to bornforhealth@gmail.com. You can see it here on the screen, or info@plantemas.com, or the emails are being redirected to your spam folder or your trash folder or your promotion folders, because some of the email filters will not let these emails go to your inbox. But if you stay connected with me, subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the little bell, then you will know when I'm going to release these videos, which is going to be very soon. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the week. It's been delightful once more to be here with you. I hope that you're enjoying the book club and that you're putting into practice. We all need to hear this information over and over and over and over. And that's one of the reasons I do these book clubs. So stay compliant, clean your environment. Don't let anything in your house that should not be in your mouth. Remember what Chef AJ says: if it's in your house, it's in your mouth. So we want to keep the environment 100% clean. And if we ever fall off the wagon, it's not the end of the world. You're one meal away from getting back on. And so we are here to help each other. Remember that I do have a Facebook page if you have Facebook, and it's under Dr. Starch, all spelled out, and you can stay connected that way. All right. Thank you, everyone. I will see you next week.